Welcome, everybody, to LinkedIn Tuesday, today on February 11th. We're happy to have you here today. If you've just joined us, please put your name, the title of job that you're looking for, any other affinity points, and your LinkedIn URL in the chat so that you can network with others. Today, we have Locke Alderson with us, and he's going to show us how to use LinkedIn for job hunting and strategies that get results. All right, let's see. So please note that this event is being recorded. The recording may be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Comments in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. Oh, I skipped past a few things. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get this back going. All right. One second. All right, so please use the chat box to enter in your question. And wanted to give you a little bit of background about Jeff Morris, who's here with us today. He founded Career DFW in 2008 to help job seekers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He started careerusa.org in 2012 to help job seekers nationwide. He also wrote the book, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know, which you can get on Amazon.com. He's also led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007, and he's been a member of the PIT Crew since 2017. As for me, I'm your guest host for today, and today will actually be my last day guest hosting. Jeff will be taking sessions back over next Tuesday. As for our presenters, we have 4 LinkedIn professionals that join us every Tuesday. We have Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt Vandemotter. And so each week you can join careerdfw.org and careerusa.org with LinkedIn Tuesday, the PIT Crew, which is interviewing Wednesday, and on Fridays we have a North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning. On Wednesdays for the practice interview team, on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month, it is only in person at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano, Texas. On the fourth Wednesdays of the month, it is online via Zoom. So certainly if you're in the area, please join them in person and you can actually see somebody go through an interview with a panel. On Friday at 9:30 a.m. Central Time, we have the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And this week we have negotiations, closing the deal for what you are worth with Crystal Yates. Hopefully you can join the session. Also, we have the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups. So hopefully you can join those groups. We have over 15,000 members in the careerdfw.org group. Also, if you want to view previously recorded sessions for LinkedIn Tuesday, you can go to YouTube to careerusa.org, click on playlist, and then click on view full playlist and previously recorded sessions. We do not record Terry Sullivan's sessions, so his sessions wouldn't be here. If you aren't receiving emails about our workshops, you can join the Career USA mailing list. You can scan this QR code that's here to the right, or send an email to Career USA, subscribe at groups.io. Please note that Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. If your new company makes matching donations, we are registered. If you do not see us listed, let us know who they use. And so before I turn it over to Locke, I'll give you a little bit of info about him. He is a retired professional and executive recruiter. He was a senior recruiter at Oracle from 2006 to 2010, recruiting and hiring Oracle and Siebel system CRM consultants, managers, and executives. Prior to joining Oracle, Locke was previously a principal recruiter at Siebel from 1998 until 2006, where he recruited Siebel CRM consultants and managers. Locke began working with those in job and career transition in 2001 while at Siebel, something he continues to do today. In July 2013, Locke was approached by Mullen International, an outplacement firm in New York City, about a 90-day contract in outplacement consulting. The original contract had lasted for 4 years and 90 days before Mullen sold out to Lee Hecht Harrison. Locke joined Lee Hecht Harrison for 2 years before finally retiring in December 2019. So let's welcome Locke today.
Thanks, Patty, for your gracious introduction, and we'll go for there. I'll see if I can load. Let's go screen share. We should be up, right? We are
I
up.
see it.
That's my bio there for anybody that's interested in more detail. As I said, Patty gave a nice introduction. Goes back through Siebel days, but prior to that, I had a few other companies that are in my background as well. And you can see that on there. If you should want a copy of the slide deck today, just send me an email at lockealderson.com, and I'll be happy to send it to you. And people ask Jeff and me and Patty, why do you volunteer your time for these kind of things? You're not getting paid. Now, the only thing I could say is enough people help me when I've been job hunting, and that includes at least 6 times when I've been unemployed. I won't count all the times when my contracts that I've worked on came to an end, and that helped me find my job. I know it took one of the people at one of the workshops. It took me about six months with her banging on me to change my resume, and it finally worked. So we'll go from there. But again, one of the things about my background, and we'll see if it works, is scripture. This is a verse from Jeremiah 29:11 in the Old Testament. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And I know when I've been unemployed, there were times when I got down, and certainly one of those times when I moved from California to Texas. Was moving here and had a wife and 2 small children. She was a stay-at-home mom at that time. I interviewed with 19 companies after I was laid off in California, and 16 of them said, no, thank you. 2 of them said, we'll get back to you. One of them made me an offer to come to Texas, and I accepted it. So those are the kind of things, the stories of encouragement we like to try and give to people. And again, the scripture is one of those ways to do it. A pastor that for our church gave a message about relationships in real life, and job hunting is certainly one of those relationships. And showing up is part of that, and getting found on LinkedIn with your profile is one of the things we're going to talk about today. And then opening up what you've done and how well you've done it is the other part of our talk today. So let's move on to LinkedIn. And the question is, why are you using LinkedIn? Again, LinkedIn is probably the premier job search tool that most recruiters use. And if your goal is to get found on LinkedIn, what does it take to get found on LinkedIn? Well, that's what we're going to try and take a look at. As I mentioned, LinkedIn is the #1 recruiting tool used by recruiters today. Some of them subscribe to a software package called LinkedIn or LinkedIn Lite that Microsoft sells. And Terry Sullivan, Kurt Vandemotter subscribes to the LinkedIn recruiter package. I think he pays $10,000 a seat for that license every year. And somebody else I know has this Recruiter Lite, which is $5,000 a year. It gives them access to the United States candidates. Terry has access to worldwide candidates on that. But one of the reasons people tend to use LinkedIn, it's been an irreplaceable tool in people's job search. The ability to show employers the exact experience and skills that you have in their profile is what ultimately helps them get a job. And I know I've helped a number of people when I was with Lee Hecht Harrison, and independent of that with Mullen, and using that as well. So we want to take a look at that. The things we want to talk about today is your profile. First, about your headline and open to work. What are those all about? Then taking a look at your dashboard, which is something that a lot of people neglect. The about to work section or about section, which used to be called the summary. And taking a look at your work history, your skills and endorsements. And the skills and endorsements are vitally important, as are all of these points that are there. You want to optimize your profile as well. That's the thing that you want to get noticed for. And then how do recruiters go about searching, and how do you go about searching? And then some homework for you. If you're looking for a job on LinkedIn, a vital part of job hunting is getting found. So the first part of the presentation is about that getting found. But what are you doing to attract hiring managers' attention? First impressions are vitally important, and the first impression that they have of you when they look at LinkedIn is your profile. Come on, there we go. There's my old profile. You can take a look at that. I've got a banner photo. I know Jeff, who's on the call today, thankfully, has his banner and has his telephone number on his banner. This is from a cruise that I went on about 4 years ago into the Caribbean. And I like to do that. We're getting ready to head out on another cruise on Thursday, flying to Australia. But you notice the headline, it's got my picture, a good headshot of who you are. You can do a selfie for that if you want, but make sure that you don't have a glare, particularly if you've got glasses like I have on. You can see a slight glare on the picture of me in the corner. And then your headline itself, used to have about 140 characters. That LinkedIn upped that to about 220 characters. A lot of people's profiles that I see limit themselves and don't do enough job. If you should use the pipe character or a backslash to separate words, okay? You want to make sure that you have a space on either side of it, because if you don't link together like that, those two words like consultant and executive with a backslash in between them is not a searchable term, and you will not get found for either of those areas. Okay, so that's what one looks like, the open to work section as well. And really your LinkedIn profile is the first impression that potential employers, hiring managers, and recruiters have about you. And if your headline is the only thing that someone sees, what does it say about you? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. The headline basically is another question that we want to ask about. How long has it been since you updated your profile? Again, profiles tend to get old. You don't want your profile to look like an old rusty car because of neglect. I know when you go to the grocery store, most of us, if you do the grocery shopping for your family, I do. Again, I look at things like produce, and I look at the tomatoes, and if they're squishy, I don't select them. But some of the produce has a best used date by, like milk and meat. And if that's past that date, you probably aren't going to want to buy that to take it home with you. The same kind of thing can be applied to your resume and to your profile, because if it's out of date and it looks out of date, again, they're going to pass on to the next candidate. Okay. So if you have 6 to 10 seconds, look at to get my attention, and that's the same thing for resumes as well as your profile. What do you see? You notice that one thing that's different about this one, I've used the open to work banner that's there from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. There's some people who are used to be reticent to use that because it says I'm out of work. Well, not necessarily. Again, today's market, there's been a lot of churn in terms of people's life cycle of their jobs. It used to be the life cycle of jobs was about 27 months. I don't know that it's quite that long anymore, but you see some of those things that are there on the profile. LinkedIn is a powerful platform for job searching and for network and career management. So you want to have a strong profile to do that. Well, part of that is creating a complete profile, because the profile is what's evaluated. Each section of your profile has a value, and recruiters do a search and they search for different categories. Each of those sections of your profile will what contribute to that search cut. The people that have the highest rating in each of the categories tend to be those on the top of the list that recruiters see. And they get 10 screens or 10 thumbnail sketches per screen, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But you want to complete your profile to attain that all-star status. Used to be that they'd have a pie chart that showed that all-star status, and I know I could never get above a 95% on that, but I am, and I know that my profile is at all-star status. But you do want to use a professional headshot, and a good banner shot or a banner shot could be amplify what your career is. The headline should be the job title of the positions or job titles of the positions that you're looking for. If you don't use a job title, it's going to default to the last title in your work experience. Use the open to work section under your headline. You can list an additional 5 job titles there, and you can also list List that you're open to relocation and what kind of job you're looking for, whether you're looking on-site, hybrid job where you're working partially on-site, partially from home, or strictly from home. The About section, your summary is an overview of your career and should have keywords from your profession. Many of those profiles that I've looked at simply have one screen worth of data. You're doing yourself, well, you're shortchanging yourself by not having more. I know mine runs up against the limit about 2,000 characters. Another thing that you need to do, if you're not a first degree connection with somebody, and we'll look at that on some people when we get to the end of the presentation, if your phone number is not readily available where you can find it, I totally recommend that you put it on the first line of your About section, your phone number and or your email. Again, some people want to keep their phone number hidden. So you may want to just have an email, or you may want to get a Google phone number where it screens the calls for you. Your experience section, you want to list your job title. And if you have an unusual job title like member of technical staff 5, and I've worked for a couple of companies that use those kind of job titles, you want to spell out what the job really is in today's language. You know, what is it in the marketplace? And give a description of your duties. And you want to keep, if you can, include the results. Include the keywords from your profession. Show that you are a professional in your field. You want to list the skills from your profession. LinkedIn now allows you to list up to 100 skills. I know my version of LinkedIn, I can still only list 50. Okay, so LinkedIn rolls out updates to the software periodically, and mine hasn't got to the 100 skills yet. Endorsements are important as well. Used to be something that you could just do a checkbox on somebody that you knew, and you could, hey, they have this kind of skills and experience. Education awards, certifications, and professional development. A lot of resumes as well as a lot of profiles. People just limit their profile to the current education, their most recent education. They don't talk about what they've done to keep current in their professional career. Those kind of things are vitally important because they show that you weren't at home chewing on bonbons while you're watching TV while looking for a job. And recommendations, if you've got them, you want to include them. Particularly it's a good idea to have a couple for your last couple of jobs. I know I got my last one from somebody I shared a presentation with, and she was very gracious to give me a nice recommendation. So another question that comes up, does your headline really show who you are? Okay. And does it identify what you do? Is your headline a grabber that's going to get people's attention? Those are some questions you want to think about when you're creating headlines. With that in mind, let's take a look at some headlines. I've brought these all up on one sheet because these are kinds of headlines I've seen on people's profiles over the years. And yes, I've probably reviewed a couple 100,000 profiles in my time since LinkedIn came about. And I've been on LinkedIn since about 2005, I think, almost 20 years. Unemployed, truthful, but it doesn't do you the best. It doesn't present you the most favorable light. Likewise, retired. I'm retired, semi-retired, if you will. Again, what have you been doing since you did your last full-time work? Things that recruiters are going to want to ask you. Seeking new opportunity is also truthful, again, but it doesn't give you much information. Recruiters tend to pass on by for those kind of privileges. Professional, formerly a VP of finance. The only negative about that, it says formally. How long has it been since you were VP of finance? And there are people whose profiles I've looked at even recently have been out of work for a year or more. And recruiters want to know what you've been doing in that time. The experienced digital design engineer, each of those give a little bit more information, as you can see. Although some of those, like the supply chain procurement and purchasing, are rather succinct and to the point. Again, if somebody's in those fields, recruiters tend to look at that. And if they're looking in those areas, they may look further at your profile. But really, you're shortchanging yourself if you don't use more of those characters, the 220 characters that are in your profile. Again, executive assistant, if I look do a search in Dallas-Fort Worth on LinkedIn, there are probably about 40,000 people that have that in their profile. Likewise, project managers. So ITIL and Scrum Master and Agile are all buzzwords that recruiters look for. General manager of manufacturing and aerospace, again, pretty succinct, but describes an individual with those kind of experiences, and there are not as many of those as there are program managers. Another thing that's available is you can add to your profile some adjectives and adverbs to describe what you do. This is a table that you're welcome to have. If you want to send me a note, it's in the package that you'll get. the way that you can apply that, this is another thing that's available to you. That note at the bottom, the URL at the bottom for check your headline through sharethrough.com. This is my old profile. It got a rating of about 55. When I updated it to this, it got about a 75 rating. So you can see that there's a little bit of difference in how you do things on that. And again, some of these are squished to get them on the screen. Here's some more headlines that you can look at. Accountant, senior accountant, increasing productivity. These descriptive phrases give a little more indication of regulated industries like telecommunications or public utilities. Gives the recruiter another idea of who you are, what you've done, and where you've worked, because those are the things that people are interested in. That idle one, the project manager with IT idle, Scrum Master, Agile, able to explain high tech to customers. Having worked in high tech with Oracle and Siebel, explaining what the software does to the customer is important, and likewise, being able to take that information and relate it back to the developers is vitally important. Here's some additional focused headlines. Systems analysts working in healthcare reduce hospital paperwork by 54%. That's a pretty significant accomplishment that somebody can talk about. But those are other headlines, just examples that you can look at. Another verse of scripture that I like is this one from Isaiah 26. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, and the Lord himself is the rock eternal. So what about this one? Why use open to work? Yes, that headline banner is there from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, but allows you to add additional things, additional career titles or job titles there. You notice that there are 5 there, like senior career consultant, executive recruiter, contract recruiter, recruitment specialist, and so forth. When you click on it further, it allows you to add some other information. Like here, they have a list, some artificial intelligence as you start to add the titles there. It allows you to click on those, check the box, and it will put it in the list. Careers, you see, there's some artificial intelligence that you can choose from that list that's there. In the workplace, you want to work on site, hybrid, or remote, and where you want to work. If you're open to relocation, you certainly want to tell people about that. But most people usually want to work within about 20 to 25 miles from where they live. And what is your status in terms of looking? Are you available immediately, or are you just casually looking at opportunities? Another thing that you want to take a look at on your homepage is your analytics, okay? The analytics tells how your profile has been viewed by others. Again, you've appeared in 255 on me, post impressions in the last 7 days. And my profile has actually been viewed in the last 90 days by 100 people. And I have about 6,400 people that are actually following me. And I've actually appeared in 64 search appearances, even though I am not looking for another job. Okay. Another section that a lot of people ignore is called the featured section, where you can display examples of your work. These are the presentations that I've given over the years. Again, I need to go and update some of these because they date to as much as 2 years ago. And I've given some of these presentations more recently as new information. My son is a motion graphics designer down in Austin. He has his reel that's included, which includes samples of his work. I know people with artistic background or advertising may have samples of their portfolio with the work that they've designed. And think about the commercials that were on the Super Bowl. Those are some of the kind of examples that people can include there. You can also include your resume, although if you do have your resume there, you do want to refresh it periodically because that's like set in concrete. Okay, it doesn't change. Again, you may want to tailor your resume to each job that you apply for.
Locke, on this section here, are you ever concerned about somebody taking your ideas or taking your presentation and using it for themselves?
To mean present to others? I don't
I
have
don't
any
know.
necessarily a pride of authorship, although I think I've been a pretty good author of these kind of things. I've worked with people since 2001 in terms of job search. But these tools and techniques that I've had, they've been helpful to me, and I want to give back to the people that are looking because it may be helpful to them. So that's an idea that you might have. But you're right, Patty. If you don't want something copied, that's one of the reasons Terry Sullivan doesn't allow his presentation to be recorded, because again, he's in the business of I won't say selling, but telling people how to use LinkedIn for marketing and
Personal brand.
for his personal brand. That's how he earns his living. Okay, so he charges people a fee for that, and that's understandable. Okay. Moving right along down your resume or down your profile. Again, this is a summary. The summary section is really, does it really showcase your experience? This particular one is particularly long. Normally, I would recommend people that have statement paragraphs of 3, 4, 5 sentences before you have a new paragraph. But he used a nice balance, bold, and it's particularly well written one as well. Also includes some specialties. Again, if you people look at my specialties, I got about 15 specialties in the area of HR and recruiting. He's also got at the top there is an email where you can be contacted, because it's very frustrating if you can't get a recruiter or hiring manager and they haven't subscribed to one of the software licenses, be able to get in touch with you if you're not a first degree connection. Okay. Here are some other sample resumes. Summaries. Resumes and profiles kind of intertwine in my brain, okay? But if you're in career transition, what you may want to have is tired of how you think about things. So speaking in the first person on your LinkedIn profile is acceptable. And again, notice the person that had worked at Disney talks about their competencies. They talk about where they worked in leadership development, but they also talk about some experience that they've had, where they've worked and so forth. And currently, if the second example, I'm a strategic hands-on marketer, that kind of descriptive phrases without examples to give some flesh to that bones. Sometimes that reviewed as fluff by recruiters, and they pass on those. But again, in profile, you could do that because you have in the about section, you have a lot of words that you can use. You have about 2,000 characters that you can use in your summary. Let's move on to if there aren't any questions, to the employment section. I do want to do that. But this is one of you want to have your job title, your company name and dates. Again, you want to have that because people will check that out against your resume, and your duties and responsibilities. Again, try and limit those to about 3 to 5 lines. You notice I've used about 3.5 lines there for my experience at Oracle and your duties. And then I've listed some bulleted accomplishments or areas of expertise that I have there. There are 2 that are there. When I was with Oracle, I was the recruiter of the quarter twice for the most hires. And I was selected in 1 year to go to as one of from 50 recruiters to go to the consulting organization's annual club presentation. I also included there an email that was sent out by Amanda Gill, who was my boss's boss as a director of recruiting at Oracle when I left Oracle. It's kind of thing that is testimony about who I am and what I've done. So those are the kinds of things that you can include in your profile. Let's move on to the next section is your accomplishments, and that's vitally important whether it's on your resume or your profile. I included 2 that are there. As you notice, they're there, but you can include those because those are the add credibility to the experience that you're talking about. And this is one way that you can talk about. There are some other sections of your profile that you can add to. If you're currently not in a job and you've listed an ending date for your last job, one of the things that you definitely want to include as a current position, showing that you're in a job hunting mode. And you say, wait a minute, that doesn't quite make sense. And yes, it does, because being employed or having a current employer, whether it's looking for a job or a company, is one of those values that LinkedIn evaluates when they do searches. You can also have another section for a volunteer experience or your projects. And I know when I was with Siebel and Oracle, I used to get a lot of resumes that had just a page by page list of the projects that somebody may have worked on, each project in some detail about that. And recruiters are interested in those things, particularly in certain fields like IT and software development. Well, let's take a look at one for current development, a current position. This one is one you can add the title that you're looking for as a software applications developer. The type of employment you're looking for full-time, the company that you may be looking, rather than a company, you may want to put an industry seeking opportunities in financial service or telecommunications. As you start to add a location, there's some intelligence that LinkedIn allows you to do. Notice that the Dallas area is Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Dallas County, Dallas, Texas. Well, you've got to be careful, though. There is a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. With projects, this is another one. I was a project and program manager for one of the professional organizations I was with to hire to line up the speakers for the different meetings, for program director for the Dallas-Fort Worth Staffing Management Association. You can add a lot of detail to that as well. Next area we want to look at is the skills and endorsements. Again, your skills, you're allowed, LinkedIn will display 2, I think now, and it used to be 3, but display 2, and they will, unless you just designate which ones those are, it will choose the 2 that they want out of your 50 or 100 now. Again, you notice that there's some check boxes there. If you move your cursor over onto journalism and click on that, it will automatically move it up here to one of the skills areas. There. Okay, well, how do you rearrange those to maximize the visibility for you? Well, first thing that I do before we get to that, here's a tip here on how to use to locate skills for your profession. If you scroll down to this area down here to skip this page, you want to go to this find skills for your jobs. This is what you do when you find that. And it will tell you the different skills that are listed. And those are the things that you can list on your profile as well. You can highlight those when you list those 50 or 100 skills that you have. Once you've done that, let's take a look. Are they maximized for maximum impact? Again, by going to your profile, and when you're in that and you notice the pencil that's there that you can click on, if you click on those 3 dots that are right there, you notice there's a list three skills for me right there. But if you click on those 3 dots, it takes you to the next screen, which brings up this screen. Reorder your skills and endorsements. You can hold your cursor down over the 4 lines to the right and drag and drop the ones that you want. If you haven't done that in a while, it might be good. That's one way to refresh your profile. By going in and shifting the order a little bit, might be for the kinds of jobs that you're looking for. Again, as I say, if you don't select them, LinkedIn will select them for you.
Locke, we have a question for you in the
Sure.
chat. Um, as a recruiter, what are the pros and cons of changing my job to career break and listing the jobs I am doing, such as enrolling in courses, networking, researching jobs, doing advisory and or volunteer jobs? Specifically, how does a recruiter view this, and what are the downsides of showing I am unemployed?
Well, the downside of showing unemployed, there's still a negative connotation for being unemployed. People wonder, why are they unemployed? What's wrong with that person? But increasingly with what's happened in the last 10 years in terms of the job market, or actually the last 15 years with all the downturns in the marketplace, with things like COVID and working from home, the skills, what people have and what they possess tend to be as important as what you're doing currently with your experience. So looking for a job, if you have kinds of experience, if you have a well-written profile that attracts somebody's attention, they're going to ask you the question, when did you do that? How did you do that? What are the questions or what are the qualifications that you want to list? For me, it might be, okay, when I was with a company called E-Systems here in Dallas, when I led business, when Raytheon acquired them, my last year there, I hired 180 professionals in a year. That may not seem too significant because I've had other recruiters that I've worked with have hired as many as 400 or 500 people in a year, which is significant. But when you talk about 180 people that you hired, and they all had to meet the qualifications for the job, they had to live in Washington, D.C. area or the Dallas area, they had to be U.S. citizens or permanent residents and qualify for security clearance, that's a pretty significant accomplishment. That's basically one a day. So those are the kind of things that people look for. What are your qualifications and experience? And have a good explanation for why you're looking. If you've gone back to school to get experience, perhaps in cybersecurity. I was at a dinner last week, and one of the persons sitting next to me was working in cybersecurity and gone back to school. So to get that kind of a degree. So those are the kind of things that you want to publicize if you've dedicated to that. But what have you done with your experience? That's what people are interested in. Does that answer the question? I know that's a lot of long-winded answer to a short question.
Does that answer your question? I think it's Paul.
Okay, I'll move on then. Reordering
Yes.
the skills can help you, to highlight what you want to see. Because the first thing that people see, if I go back, they only see 2 or 3. And those 2 or 3 may not be the ones that you want to present. They may not be the ones that support whatever is in your headline. So that's what you want to do. So the next thing that you want to do is to take a look at people. Missed a slide. Okay. When you want to take a look at people, take a look at other people's profile. Okay. Because if you're not showing up, if you search for yourself, like you're a recruiter and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and do a search, And if you don't show up in that 25,000, actually there's probably closer to 35,000 now in the Dallas-Fort Worth that have recruiter in their profile. Again, you might want to ask the question why. Recruiters will screen through probably 10 screens of thumbnail sketches. That's about 100 people that they've looked at. And if you're not showing up there, you want to know why. So that's what you want to do. Take a look at some of those people's profile, like this one, and find out what does that person have in their profile to show up as a recruiter? What does that person have as a cost accountant or as a project manager to show up like that? Notice that in this one, she has recruiter in there. It's a couple times. She's a senior recruiter and open to work. She's listed senior recruiter, but she's also listed talent acquisition specialist. The current title for people looking for jobs or recruiters is talent acquisition. Although in England, that's not a term that you want to use on your profile, I might add. There's some connotations in England that have different meaning than they do in the US. Okay.
Locke, there was another question on
Sure.
the LinkedIn skills. Should you prioritize skills where you have the most endorsements or the skills most relevant to the role?
Okay, well, that's, you notice the endorsement, that number 99 after executive search, 99 is the most that you can acquire. Again, if I were a recruiter, all things being equal, and somebody said they had 99 versus somebody who had just one, I'm probably going to look first at the person who has 99. So you can request, and it's still, as I look at people's profile and there's a spot that I can check off that I know that they have this kind of experience, I will go ahead and check it that they have that experience. Okay. But all things being equal, recruiters do take a look at those kind of things. It's not a big thing. It's not a deal breaker. But again, it may be the consideration in terms of what order the recruiter or hiring manager takes looks at profiles. Okay. Moving
Okay.
on. Okay. Let's take a look at searches on LinkedIn. How do they take place? How does LinkedIn do a search? And how do recruiters actually do a search? Again, those are closely intertwined, but there's some differences. And then taking a look at some recruiter results. And then for you, how do you search for jobs? So what do recruiters really look for in a job? Well, first, as I said, each section of your profile gets a score, and as well as your activity. If you're not on LinkedIn on a regular basis, I used to be and show up when people would do a recruiter search, I'd show up on the first two screens in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But since I'm not online with LinkedIn looking for jobs and active like that, I probably am down in screen number 20, which is is down there a ways. Okay, but your rank in each of the searches is added up to the values, and then they add up to the qualifications that are being sought. What recruiters really look for, job titles is the first thing. A number, you can have job titles in your current and past jobs, your headline, open to work, your about, and your employment sections. So the more times that you have it, it's called word saturation. If you have the best example, I can think of that when I went to Oracle from Siebel. We were looking for a Siebel consultant in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I ran a job posting in that marketplace, had 75 responses. 50 of the responses didn't even have the word Siebel in their profile. 25 had the word Siebel in their profile, but it was a question, was one time were they a Siebel user, had they used the software? 20 times, or 10 times, they might have been a Siebel consultant who's actually installed the software. So that's the difference in terms of word saturation. Okay, keywords and skills. I mentioned there is the skills chart that's available in the presentation. You can go and look up skills for that. It's kind of limited. It only has about 150 job titles that have lists their skills to it. But again, it gives you some idea of that. You can also find skills and keywords when you look at advertisements, your postings. What are the things that they're looking for that? And those are what recruiters actually look for. They look at job titles for skills and keywords from your profession. Well, industries and specific companies. Again, recruiters for healthcare typically look for people that have healthcare experience. Other companies are like that. I know when I took a summer job with a telephone company, Pacific Telephone in California, again, their philosophy was, if you're a manager, we can put you a manager in just about anything except perhaps engineering. So you can be a manager of the long distance operators or a central office. Again, they can teach you the skills that you need for that. So that's important to know as well. Education, and experience. There are some companies, as I mentioned, a lot of recruiters will only look within 20 to 25 miles of their location, simply because applicants have said, I don't want to work further than 20 to 25 miles from home. Education, I've interviewed with a company here in Dallas that was looking for an MBA from a top 10 business school in the country. Well, my MBA is from University of California at Berkeley, and that, depending on whose ratings you're looking at, is one of those top 10 schools. But again, companies are kind of finicky like that. They have some unusual requirements that they put on the job. Are they most accurate ones for success in the job? Probably not, but even so, hiring managers are very specific about some of those things. Current companies and prior companies and your length of service. What is your pedigree? Have you worked for some top 10 company, top Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 companies? How long were you there? If your tenure at some companies was only a couple of months and you have several of those in a row, I would say that you probably either had a problem or you were in a consulting kind of working on projects. Then recruiters look at your summary and your experience. So let's take a look at a screen. This particular screen is from when Kurt did a presentation. I did a screen capture. His screen capture at that time, there were about 700 million people in LinkedIn worldwide. And by having LinkedIn recruiter license, he can look at anybody worldwide. He has about 6 screens of data like this that he can check boxes, and he can search. These are the things that he wants to look for. He can identify those on those screens and narrow that 710 million down to probably 70 candidates within 30 seconds. So those are some of the things that they can do. The things that they look at are job title, locations, skills and assessments, companies, schools, years of graduation, not so much, and industries. So those are some of the criteria that a recruiter can look at on LinkedIn. This is an actual research result for a product manager in the Seattle area. Again, they would take somebody from the San Francisco Bay Area. They were looking for product management and product marketing. In many situations, those jobs are interrelated or the same job. They do both functions. And again, they're looking for companies in the Seattle area like Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke, which are headquartered there, and they also list the University of Washington. That particular one drew 6,900 candidates. And several of those candidates, 2,500, have company connections. They knew somebody in their connection, first degree connection, second degree connection. And there you had 460 of those 6,900 followed that company or followers of them. And those are some of the things that you can do. Okay. This is
Locke,
another,
we
yes.
have another question for you. Are there LinkedIn resources available for a job seeker to look at for working abroad?
You can look abroad. One of those things that you can do when you put your search, and we'll get to that in a minute. It's a good question. Hold on to that. We'll try a search for that when we go online. But yes, you can look for London, England. Okay, and you can search for talent acquisition, or not talent, but recruiter in London, let's say, and you can find jobs like that in London or Glasgow, Scotland, or Paris, or Marseille. So yes, you can use the same search criteria overseas. Again, let's take a look at that. But this one was for a project manager in Chicago. It drew almost 43,000. Interesting thing, open to work. In this case, it said that only 83 people were open to new opportunities or open to work. This was a time when employment was very full and unemployment was very low. So again, a recruiter's going to take a look at those 80, probably look at those 83. That's only one screen, or that's 9 screens worth of thumbnail sketches. So a recruiter can sort through those pretty quickly and look at those. So that's the first place that a recruiter is going to go. They like to eat low-hanging fruit. But again, what are some of the other skills that go along with a project manager? In this case, business strategy and analytics. Okay, not every project manager has those skills. And marketing and corporate development. So there are different kinds of project managers, whether it be administrative or software or hardware. So there's a number, that's why that number is 43,000 there. Let's now move on and take a look for jobs. So searching for jobs, you can do it in 2 ways. The first way is to use the search box there. The second way is to use the jobs tab that's there, or the icon that's there. Click on either one of those, search for jobs. The search bar that's there, you can only put a title. The jobs tab, if you look at that, it looks like this. You have a chance to put a job title, an industry, or a company, and a location. And this would be where you would want to put that London, England, or Glasgow, Scotland, and the type of job that you're looking for. Okay, if you don't enter a location there because you're in the United States, it's probably going to default to the United States unless you've had a prior search where you've looked in, say, Phoenix or Los Angeles, and it will default to that. So you want to search for that as well. Well, let's take a look at searching for some jobs. These are some sample job searches that I've done over the years. Again, this was for a sales rep. Again, by not putting a location in it, it defaults to the United States. So there are almost 200,000 candidates. For any recruiter, that's too many to take a look at, okay? Even though a good recruiter. Notice that that top job here is actually described over here in some detail, so you can scroll down through those things. So sales representative, I would probably put a location, although a lot of sales representatives, companies may be looking for them all over the country. I know when I was with Oracle Corporation, looking for Siebel consultants or Oracle consultants, in many cases, I would consider them in multiple locations around the United States. This one was for a senior accountant within 25 miles of Plano, Texas. Okay, and notice that there were at that time 144 results. And again, for that job, that you can look down there and see those. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one was I did for presentation for the American Association of Quality. ASQ is what I can't remember what it was. I did a presentation we did for quality assurance. Well, most of the people there were professional quality assurance people or managers. So by putting this down and doing the search in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, there were almost 2,000 jobs that are available. Well, a lot of those jobs, like the inspector job or technician job, those people weren't interested in. But it's going to pick up all those jobs by putting quality assurance. By refining that search and adding manager, it narrowed it down by 90%. So that's a way that you can focus on that. The other thing I'll mention is on filters, and we're going to get to that. No, okay, this one was for an executive assistant. Notice the artificial intelligence, when I talk about Dallas, there's that Dallas, Georgia that I mentioned there, okay? So that you have to be careful about what you put. This is the filters tab. And now if you do filters, it's only on the right third of your screen. This is an older screenshot of filters on LinkedIn. It allows you to look for jobs. Most jobs on most of the job boards are going to be permanent full-time. But for there may be people listening today that are looking for contract positions or internships or volunteer or temp jobs. Again, also the one thing that I do recommend for most people is to limit your search to the last week, because a lot of jobs, those anytime jobs, that 2,000 that are shown there, may be jobs the recruiter has not taken down, has not removed from the job boards. Again, if a recruiter doesn't do it, gets busy, doesn't think about that, they may not be available anymore. We want to look at those. Something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com was a salary survey. And some states now are requiring that they list salary in any job posting. But it's not the most accurate salary survey, if you will, but it does give you some idea of jobs. So if you were looking for a recruiter in Dallas County, there are 48 jobs that are pretty highly paid, over 120K, one way to search. Another question that we frequently get is, do I use Easy Apply? And you may have seen that on some. Only use the Easy Apply. And I emphasize that if it allows you to upload a current resume, because if you don't, it's going to take your profile and use that as a resume. So that's one way that you can do something like that. Other filters that you can use are by industry, by company, by location within the Dallas area, and you notice that, and the number of jobs that are there. Okay, another thing that the LinkedIn allows you to do is to set job alerts. Instead of doing a search every day for the same kind of thing, you can say set an alert for recruiter jobs in the Plano or North Dallas area. You turn that button on, that radio button, from left to right, and this gives you the option of daily or weekly, and it will send you any notices of new jobs daily or weekly, and it's usually between 7 or 8 in the morning. I still get those for recruiter. I still get some for healthcare in Ashland, Oregon. I met with a friend up there and helped him do some searches for healthcare positions in Ashland, Oregon and Southern Oregon. And because I had done the search on my computer, I still got those notices. Okay, but that's what that looks like when you turn the job alert on. You can see there at the bottom. So wrapping up, I'm being a long-winded today. Some things that you could do to improve your profile. Again, make sure that all the sections are complete, and use the name that you normally use. And I got through this morning. That's why I was a little late, Patty, getting online. as I was closing on a new apartment that we just signed paperwork for this morning, and one of the places asked for your legal signature. Well, my legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr. So again, make it easy for people to call you by name, the name that you use. So if you have that, do it and include that in your name. Use that name on your headline. Headline, the job titles that you're looking for. Again, not including one, it will default to your last job title that you had in your employment section. In your employment, in your open to work, use that unless you're in stealth mode. For those of you who are still working and don't want your employer to know that you're working, you may want to go and not list the open, have that. But if you do it in recruiter mode, because open to work allows you to select open to LinkedIn worldwide or open to recruiters, and that's the recruiters that subscribe to the LinkedIn software licenses. You can let it be done that, but it does allow you to list 5 additional job titles. List your phone number and email on the first line of your about section. It's very frustrating for recruiters and hiring managers to find a perfect profile and not be able to get hold of somebody because they're a second or third degree connection. Okay. Experience section, again, measurable results. They add credibility, and that's important to your experience. Those are the questions. I think we're done with that, and I'll see if I can close this down, Patty.
All right. Are we going to look at some profiles?
We could look at profiles.
Because I think there are probably some people who want to have some profiles looked at.
And we'll.
All right. If you're interested in having Locke look at your LinkedIn profile, please enter it in the chat or raise your hand, and then we'll go through it one by one.
Patty, what did I do?
I'm not sure. Hit escape.
Escape.
Right now, I just see your picture with not a search bar.
Well, how do I do? Okay.
You can stop sharing and then try to get to where you need to go, and then you can reshare. Were you able to stop sharing?
I tried stop sharing. No.
There we go. Now I just see the PowerPoint slide. Okay. So now you can try to share again.
That get it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
All right. So the first person that we have is Mike Belzil.
Okay. Let me go. What is Mike looking for?
No, you want to do his profile. Look at his
Okay.
profile.
Search.
Correct.
No.
So you just go to the search bar at the top and you should be able to pull it.
Well, it's not letting me move the companion. Okay.
I see your cursor moving.
It's not letting me add that.
Oh no.
Got there and I can't do it. Okay, Patty, you're up.
How is that possible?
I don't know. We
Okay.
tried it at work earlier.
All right. So that's what happens, right? So let me share my screen and then we will look through it. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, can see it.
All right. So Mike, I'm going to pull up your profile. And then Locke, you can give your
Okay.
feedback.
Well, Mike and I are first degree connections, so that's okay. But if he had been a
Well, I'm a
second,
first degree connection to him.
okay. Well, if he had not been a first degree connection, I would click on contact information to see if he's a first degree, how I could get hold of him. If you're not a first degree connection with someone, you definitely want to include your contact information, email address or phone number or both. You want to include it in your about section. You can have it in your background, your headline as Jeff does, and Jeff Morris does on his, okay? Scroll on down a little bit. How many titles have you got? Retail and consumer package, good experience, Six Sigma black belt, Army veteran. I don't know that I'd include Army veteran. It's usually real estate that you can use for managed technology products that cover, convert data in. Good, okay. But so he's only looking for VP of analytics, of data analytics. That's the only job title that I see there, okay? Product manager, vice president of product management, customer success. Okay, so he's got some more job titles. You've used about 120 characters in your headline. You've got another 100 characters to play with. Scroll on down, Patty.
Oh, so there's more characters for the headline? Okay.
You have 220 characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's got his contact information. Let's connect with a phone number and an email address. Keep scrolling. Okay. Got a current position. I don't know whether he's really self-employed or he's looking for a job, but you've got a good position, the headline that's there that takes up that space. Okay. Keep going.
I put self-employed. I wasn't sure. I know there's other
That's
places.
fine. You've got a position, VP of data analytics. That's what people search for.
Okay.
They search on job titles and skills. Okay. Keep scrolling down. I want to take a look at skills for a second. Okay. There is a separate section you can do for volunteering. Mine happens to be embedded in my profile now. But skills right there. Okay, skills, Patty. Notice it lists only 2. It could be endorse somebody and those kind of things. That's where you can check box those people if they have that kind of skills. Skills, marketing and information technology. If those are the first 2 skills that somebody's going to see. If those are not the ones that you want to appear, reorganize your skills with those 3 dots when you go to edit your screen. Okay.
Okay.
Looks good. Other than that, he's got some recommendations for you miss. I was going to look at the dates on the recommendation. Okay, the recommendations he's got are from last summer. That's good. The more that you can have current recommendations, the better. And usually it's good to have a couple for your most recent experience. Let's scroll back to the top and see if somebody else would like to do it, Patty, because we're running out of time.
Elizabeth Hunter, right?
Right.
Yes, thank you.
She's also a first-degree connection. Notice her banner shot looks like we're working with people, a people specialist, which is with HR and those designations. SHRM after her name. She's got a couple of those designations. LinkedIn is pretty particular about any designation after your name, and they used to be they would put you into a holding situation for 30 days where you couldn't access your account if you did that. So just be aware if you put something like job hunter or real estate agent in Allen, Texas. Again, those are the kind of things that you don't want to put, but a designation like SPHR or MBA or something that you can add there, okay?
Hey, did you know that I live in Allen? Is that why you use that?
No, there used to be Allen, somebody that used Allen by the search criteria.
Okay.
Allen is a name, but also a town. Again,
Yeah.
it's something to be aware of. You've only used about 50 characters. So what have you done as an HR professional, okay? HR, what are some of the accomplishments that you have? What are some of the kinds of industries that you've worked in or areas that you can add to your?
So I have more there.
Well, I
In
only
fact, I
see
hit the limit. Can you click on the more button?
there's no more
Patty?
button for your headline.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
for my
no,
headline.
your
Okay.
headline here needs to have, you have
Okay.
220 characters. You have a lot more you can do here.
You
Got
can
it.
add,
This
Thank
is
you.
what I see. This is what everybody else sees. So,
yeah. You
okay.
can add
It's
some of
the
your
about that
comments.
I maxed out. Okay.
What's an accomplishment that you had? If you want the deck, take a look at the slide deck that I send in the area of headlines, because that allows you to amplify your headlines. Okay, let's scroll on down a little bit more.
And where is the deck? Is it in the
If you ask for me, send the deck, the slides, send it to you.
Okay,
It's about
Send an email to
five-
lockealderson@gmail.com that I put in the
Got it.
chat, and he'll send you the deck.
Okay.
Notice in her about section, folks, those are the three I mean, that's the only thing that's showing her about section. Click the see more and see what we can see first. Okay, she's got a good description there of things that she's done. Accomplishments, they're short staccato-like statements, 3-4 lines and broken up with bullets, or she's used pluses. I don't know what the editor in LinkedIn does today, whether it allows you to use bullet points or not. But
They're actually diamonds.
Okay, well, okay. I don't know what the editor in LinkedIn, you can do that and cut and paste it into LinkedIn as to how I did it with mine. Notice her top skills. She's identified that those are her top skills, down there as well. Let's scroll on down some more.
This is where I'd like your advice. So when I left my job at the end of August, I did stand up an LLC, and I've done a little bit of gig work, but I'm really looking for that next opportunity. So in my description,
you have a job that's there. That's the first thing, because LinkedIn looks whether you've had or doing something. And a job hunting counts as doing something, okay, as well as a job. Okay, she was with Sabre, and notice how her experience at Sabre is linked together with the lines alongside of it. My experience at Oracle and Siebel is linked together like that because they were acquired company, and at Pennies, okay, at different positions. Education, okay, keep on going. Licenses and skills, business strategy and financial acumen.
Yeah, I need to reorganize those.
You need to reorganize that if you're looking at HR, because business strategy, I don't see you as financial planning and strategy analysis.
I couldn't figure out how to do it, but you told me how to do it.
You can read a spreadsheet, you can read a financial report, but that's not what HR is looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Natalia, you has a question there, Patty, while we're scrolling through. Okay. Recommendations she's got are 2025, 2024. Good. Okay.
All right. So I think Vitaly is next.
Vitaly had a question. Okay. And Raj, in terms of linking together, LinkedIn does it automatically. I can't know that there's any particular way that you can get it done for you. Okay. Again, you've used about 90 characters, Vitaly, in terms of your profile, your headline. Again, you've got open to work, supply chain, logistics, good things that I have there. Again, what are some of the accomplishments that you have? If you look at my profile, it has successful recruiter, or some of the adverbs that you can add to your profile experience. So supply chain manager, of what kind of industries have you worked in? You mentioned automotive, okay? Automotive. Yeah. Exactly. So those are the kind of things that you can include. Open to work, you've got some additional job titles, which is great. Your about section, you've got your contact information, which is good. Keep scrolling. Okay, Hyundai, currently with Hyundai, been with Hyundai for about 8 years here in the Dallas.
In Ukraine, it's remote.
In Ukraine, okay, that's fine. So that's another way to do it. Okay, okay. Okay, skills, logistic planning, and finished vehicle transportation. Again, the jobs that you're looking for, Vitaly, what are the top skills? What are the skills that they're looking for on those jobs? Those should be the skills that you're highlighting as your top 2, because otherwise you're asking me to click to see more, show the rest of the 64 skills that you've got. So that the ones that and you can vary them periodically, and that will help to refresh your profile, because fresher resumes and profiles tend to go higher in the stack when somebody does a search. Okay.
Okay.
Raj had a question, I think, Patty, and we'll try and answer that. Looks good. Recommendations. Okay, 2024, they're good. Okay. He's multilingual. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Katie?
Okay.
In terms of premium, while we're looking for that for Raj's question, Katie, in terms of LinkedIn Premium, some people subscribe to it. I would try it for a period. I think it's a free trial for 30 days. Make a decision about day 25 whether you're going to keep it, because otherwise they will put that bill on your credit card. I found it not beneficial. All it basically does is give you additional contact information. You can contact, I think, more than 10 emails a month. is what you're limited to. Raj had a question.
No,
Raj wants his
yeah,
profile to be looked at, right?
Okay.
yeah, Patty, I put my link in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can get it because, hold on a second.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, notice one thing that you've done, Raj, is you've used a pipe character, but you've also used a bullet to separate things. I would be more consistent in how you do it, one or the other. Okay. And you've
Okay.
only used about 70 characters. You've got, what are some of the accomplishments that you had? Use some adjectives or adverbs to describe what you. This is a chance to expand on that. Remember some of the headlines that I showed as we looked at headlines.
Yeah.
Okay. Project manager, engineering manager, video productions, and the details. Okay.
So some of these
Contacting.
titles he can add up here as well.
Yeah,
Yes?
no, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Contact information in the top of your about section. Notice that there are only 3. I like your featured. You've got something in your features section. Okay, but the about section, again, he's got a copy of a PMP. I can't remember what the PMP stands for. Professional certification. That's there. Project
Yeah,
management.
Project management
Professional.
professional.
Yeah. Okay. So he's listed some of his certifications there, and some of the one-day classes or online classes that he's taken. His activity area. He's got, in other words, he's done something with impactful lessons from the world of Japan, which was either an article he wrote or was of interest to him. Okay. Okay. The project, his experience section at eBay. Okay. Again, I would list a current position. What are you looking for? Describe the position that you're looking for. Again, if it's a program manager in our talent development, again, program manager talent development is a kind of an unusual situation, but learning and development, training and development are some other areas. American Association, what is it? American Training, it used to be American Society for Training and Development, but they've shortened their name. But again, that's another thing that brings up looking at when you go to look for jobs, there's a tab on there that has people. There's another one that has groups. You can look for jobs within groups. Those jobs within groups may not be, important note, may not be listed on LinkedIn proper when you search for job. So some professional organizations, you can list a job in a group. It does not cost any money. Posting on LinkedIn used to be about $200 a pop. Okay, so there are jobs in professional groups that you might want to look for. American Association of Training and Development, as I say, if you do ASTD, it'll give you the current acronym.
Thank you.
Okay, and there is a Dallas chapter that's pretty active. Okay, the skills, project management, and e-learning. Okay, those are 2 pretty good skills if that's what you're looking to do. Okay, and endorsements or recommendations, 2025, 2025. It's great that you have current ones. Okay, looks good.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else? I gotta see if the chat.
Notice how Raj has put his name up there. He could also put his contact information up there as well as another place. The more times that you have your contact information makes it easier for people to get a hold of you. Okay.
Okay. Was there anybody else? Does anybody else have their hand raised? Nope. All right. I'll stop sharing.
Well, Patty, best of luck to you in your new work assignment.
Thank you.
I'm thankful for having a chance to work with you these past few months.
Yes, it's been great working with all of you as well. Really appreciate. I've learned a lot over all these months. I hope the rest of you have as well, and have picked up some great tips from Locke and the other presenters on how you can update your profiles and attract recruiters to your profile and attract others to your profile.
Slide deck is lockealderson@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send it to you.
Yep. And I think there were a few other questions in the chat. I've heard that LinkedIn penalizes you for commas in your name.
I've not heard that one. Have
Is
not heard
that
them.
not really an issue? Okay. All right. I think that was it. Okay. Okay, and then somebody else said, I'm a recent graduate looking for entry-level opportunities, but every job requires experience. How can I move forward? So those are for people who have just graduated from college.
Just graduate. What are the skills that are some of those things? Those are the kinds of things you want to highlight in your headline. If they're looking for somebody with particular language skills, and you have language skills, whether those are foreign languages or software languages, highlight those in your profile. Again, that gets people's attention to at least look at your profile, to talk to people. And if you had projects while you were in school, you did projects for your particular class, include that project and describe it as an experience.
Yep. And then here's a question that's in the chat that Locke, I had asked you guys about. Is it valuable to upgrade to premium LinkedIn while job searching?
I think I answered that earlier, and I think the only advantage that I know of subscribing to premium is you're paying $30 or $32 a month. It gives you access to a larger number of in-mails that you can send to people. You may not have to go through second and third degree connections, go through somebody else to reach them. Allows you to do that. But again,
You have unlimited personalized connections. You have access to
it's
LinkedIn
not
Learning.
unlimited. It's not unlimited. It's like 50 or something like that. I didn't find it ever worthwhile because my network is a little bit bigger, but try it for 30 days. You can try it for free for 30 days. They give you have to give them your credit card. If you decide to cancel, make sure that you do that by day 25.
Yep. All right. Let's see if there were any other questions. 1 second. I'm just looking through if there was anything else. Hold on. I have one follow-up question. Are measurable results best in the about section or in your work experiences or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Think word saturation. The more times that Siebel appeared in that guy's profile, the greater the likelihood is I'm going to look at his profile and find out what he's done with it.
Yep. All right. I think that's all the questions that we have in here. All right. So thank you everybody for joining LinkedIn Tuesday. I really appreciate you guys joining today. I hope you took some valuable tips from Locke. And if you want a copy of his presentation, I've put his email address in the chat. I will enter it again. You need to send him an email in order to receive the presentation, and he'll be happy to share it with you.
Yes.
All right. And with that, have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, you too.